Okay, good afternoon and welcome back to this week's episode of It's No Secret, live from Fly on the Wall Productions, located right here in Barre, Vermont, temporarily in my basement. Hoping to be back in the studio, newly renovated studio, the first of the year. It'd be a great way to ring in the new year, is to join back up in the studio. But for now, here we are. Just a reminder to everyone that we are under a winter weather advisory. So looking at some really cruddy weather to come in after 4 o'clock today, and that advisory goes straight through until 1 p.m. tomorrow. So just keep track of what you're doing. If you are traveling, travel safe. Maybe leave early, or maybe just don't leave until tomorrow after 1 o'clock. But be safe. Welcome to It's No Secret in memory of Tyler Matthews. Today I am joined by guest Jen Potter, who I met through a mutual friend just on the phone yesterday, but I was told some great things about you and all of the things that you are involved in and do, and a little piece of why it is that you do what you do. And I'm super excited to have you share your story with us here. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, good to have you.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. And a tough conversation, but a good conversation and much needed.
Yes.
As we always say, that in my mind, you can't talk about it enough.
No, you can't.
So thank you for joining me. And first of all, we'll let you introduce yourself, who you are, and where you live, like a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Jen. I am a nurse, and I'm actually in school right now to finish up my degree. I'm from this area, born and raised. I have 2 girls that live at home with me and 2 dogs. So it's busy. I started working in a family medical practice 17 years ago, and then decided that I wanted to kind of transition a little bit to do addiction. So I started working at an inpatient as well as an outpatient, to kind of broaden that.
That's awesome. And when you say that you started working in the field, when you did inpatient, was that right here local?
Stowe.
In Stowe.
Yep. Yep.
And you remain heart heavy in that area, in that Johnson Stowe area now.
Yes. Yep. So I'm transitioning a little bit to Johnson at the Johnson Health Center. I'm the MAT coordinator there. And we are just working on harm reduction and trying to get people the care that they need and meet them where they're at, with no shame.
And definitely Johnson has been the leader in a lot, especially these days, saying really pushing with the harm reduction. And for people that don't know what MAT means and don't really understand what we mean when we say harm reduction, would you want to give them a little bit of a insight as to what that is?
So the MAT is Medicaid assisted treatment. So basically, usually Suboxone, maybe methadone, depending on what the patient needs, which gets chosen by the doctor. In harm reduction, we're just trying to meet people where they're at. We're not trying to say you can't do this, because in reality, we all know that's not going to happen. So just to try to keep them as safe as possible, doing what, unfortunately, if they're using, but trying to do it safely. And Johnson has been a very big resource for a lot of people. And even through the flood, we lost everything. And Caroline and Jeff Butler, who own it, literally have put their hearts out and have really opened up, and they still maintained through, the flooding and having their building be rebuilt.
And they service a lot of people in that area. Definitely not just the people of Johnson.
Nope, we are also primary care, so we're doing a little bit of everything. We recently just got a 24-hour Narcan vending machine. It's free, so you can come up, there's a code you put in, and it drops it out. We don't know who you are. There's no name, there's no way of knowing. We just know that it got dispensed.
And a lot of people have a lot of opinions about that, as I'm sure you know, because a lot of people look at it as free medication.
Yeah.
And we don't get free insulin, and we don't get other medications for free that are, create longevity in our lives, let's say, or help us combat a disease such as diabetes, which I too have. It is my opinion that Narcan is something totally different. For me, it's a tool, just as CPR or the paddles, any sort of breathing assistance is. And just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
And I totally understand how people can feel a little of mixed emotions, and I respect that. But what I think of is everybody's life matters, whether they're using or not using. They matter. And that could be your son, that could be your uncle, it could be your grandfather, whoever, however. That's how I think of it. It is a life-saving med just as much as everything else, but it's also, like you said, a tool.
Yeah. And if you have a child with, or any family member with cancer or anything, you're going to do whatever you can to save them. Right. And this may be our only saving grace in some cases. It may be that one time that you save their life, it finally clicks with them that their life is worth saving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we need to make that effort. And it's a super fine line to understand that piece of the puzzle, because there's so many things to be angry about. Yeah. I myself am angry. I get angry all the time about where we are with things, how it is in the community, the crime rates, what it does to our children and our loved ones. And it's a very fine line of a love-hate, I guess, relationship. It really is.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit frightening.
It is. It really is. I had a friend that once said to me that they had just had somebody that passed away, and the response was, "What a waste of life." And I lost that person as well about 2 years ago. And this person was an amazing person, would do anything for anybody, had gone through treatment, had been struggling with substance use for many years, had support from family, and was actually working in Johnson and helping kids with their own recovery. But something happened, and it happens within the brain. It's not, they don't choose to do this. Once you start, it's hard to stop. And he chose whatever chemical was coming over him, he chose to use, and he overdosed and died. And he made me realize that people that use, it doesn't make who they are.
No.
It doesn't make them the person that they are. And it really hit me. And that's why I started doing what I do. And I just recently became a certified recovery coach as well, because to me, it's important to help people that need the help. And I don't want anybody to do it alone.
Which it takes a lot of courage on both parts. It takes a lot of courage for someone to say, I want to help, because it can be a super dark world. And it takes a whole lot of courage for someone to decide, I'm worth it. I need my life to change, and ask for that help. And it's literally a lifelong battle. This isn't something that you can cure in a year, even 5 years. It's always there.
It is.
So the person that brought you to where you are as far as being in this field, how long had they been
Years.
sober? Years.
Well, they had been using for years, had sobriety, had a few slips, sobriety, but had, was really trying. It's a struggle no matter what. I remember his family saying, like, we didn't know if we were ever going to get that call. Nobody deserves to get that call. I couldn't even imagine how that must have felt to get that. And I didn't at that time really understand a lot about substance use. But to see somebody who was as bright as he was and so nice, so sweet, like, it made me realize he's a normal person. Just, he has a disease that he's fighting every day, and he lost that fight. It was too much.
And that's our battle, and I guess our mission here, or my mission here, is to make people see the good part, to know that there are so many good pieces, and it's a person, and a lot of times the use itself is the cry for help.
Yeah.
And or it's the cry, but it's also the help that they're giving themselves. It's what they have found that works for them to numb whatever it is, because dealing with whatever it is way tougher.
Yeah.
And some of us have that ability to just say, I'm not quite okay today. I'm going to reach out and talk to somebody about this. Some of us can do that and do it really well, and others, that's more scary in itself, because we worry so much about what others think of us.
Yeah. So there's a huge stigma out there, and I have noticed in the last 6 months that people are not wanting to go to the emergency room. They're not wanting to seek care because they're being judged, and it's not fair. They deserve care just as much as everybody else. They might need a little bit more help, and that may be what they're asking for without asking. I just wish that people could realize that it is a chemical imbalance. How I've learned about it, and it's kind of funny, but when I went to a training, this is what the lady said. She said, like, you have a chocolate bar and you eat it. So you have receptors in the brain, and they're like, this is awesome. I love it. I want to do it again. So you do it again the next day, and then the next and the next. So you've started taking that receptor, and it's starting to block, and you're getting what you want, which is the chocolate. And it's the same thing that's happening with substances. that they're trying it and it's like, oh, wow, that made me feel great. So the brain's like, let's do it again. And you do it again and again. And then here we are.
Yeah. And one of the things I have learned about those receptors through lots of counseling and talking and with different people is it takes 3 solid years to interfere with that, to literally, and it doesn't block it for forever. It's like I said, a lifelong fight, but it takes 3 solid years to actually interfere with that and have it not give you the same exact immediate response and trigger as it originally did, as it originally made you say, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. 3 years of solid work of retraining your brain
Yes.
is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it takes a lot out of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with smoking cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. But we don't judge people like we do with substances.
Mm-hmm.
I understand and I respect people's opinions, but it's also something that needs to be understood that these people are human and we need to respect that.
Mm-hmm.
So going forward, one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is xylazine, which is a horse tranquilizer. Yes. And so it's getting mixed in with fentanyl and people don't know that it's in there. And Narcan does not respond to xylazine at all. Mm-hmm. And usually you can tell if somebody's using xylazine because they get wounds all over, especially if they're injecting, because it's a flesh-eating drug. Mm-hmm. But it will kill people if we don't get on top of this.
And they are working now to find something, correct, that they can bring to fight that.
Yes. But again, like everything takes time. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we're at, is we are just trying to keep the people that we have as safe as possible without making it a negative experience. Mm-hmm. The more negative you are, the worse it is for that person. Mm-hmm. I see people every day and I just listen, because validating is one of the most important things that I can pass on. Mm-hmm. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to like it, but validating that you understand means so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure you see this a lot too. So validating doesn't mean that you accept the behavior.
No.
And I hear that so much. You're making excuses for them. You're saying you're okay with the fact that this is what is happening. No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay at all. Mm-hmm. I'm just acknowledging that there's a problem. I'm accepting the problem, and I'm almost accepting it as a challenge of how we're going to work on this together.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm saying I agree with what's happening. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people get stuck there a little bit and feel like that means that you do agree with what's happening and you're fine.
Right. So I recently had a patient come in, and I didn't really know him that well, so we didn't have a great rapport, but I, was calm and just started asking questions. And he kind of sat there and I'm like, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you. Mm-hmm. And the next thing that he said was, I slipped up. I made a mistake. And I'm like, well, okay, so you're admitting right now that you slipped up. That's like number one, because you're admitting it. but you're also still coming to your appointments and you're still going to your meetings. So let's take the positive from that and move forward instead of looking at the negative. So what can we do to help you? Where can we, what tools can we use to help you? What can we do for support?
And that's where we come into the next thing is there's not a lot of tools and support right now.
There's not. And especially with COVID hitting and then the flooding hitting, a lot of things got washed away. And I know for us at Johnson, we were working out of one room at Jenna's house.
Wow.
And it made it difficult, but we did the best that we could with that area. But I have to say, I struggled going into that Jenna's house every day because when you walk in, they have a wall, and it's a wall of people that have passed, that have either gone through treatment or, you know, we're friends, and it's a lot.
It is.
And, you know, to see my friend Brady up there was, I cry still now going in, and it's, these people are young. These people are so full of life, and they look so full of life.
Right. It's a very harsh reminder for sure.
Yep. So I struggle. I sometimes have to go in the back way because it's just too much.
It's an amazing place, though, Jenna's, and what they do for the community, not just in Johnson, but at large. And I know their connection with the Johnson Health Center is a very good one and a very strong one. And I wish that we could have that here. I wish what we could have in Barry, in Washington County, what you all have up there with the community that has literally not accepted but embraced and said, okay, it's in our backyard. Let's figure out how we're going to make it work in our backyard. And what are we going to do to help change it? And I don't know what it would take to have something like that happen here. I don't. But I know it needs to. The crime is up. The deaths are up. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's, and since the flood, even more so since the flood, crime has gone through the roof here. It's mind-blowing that that piece of the puzzle, though, people are missing the piece of the puzzle that we lost a lot of services.
Yeah.
Central Vermont Substance Abuse closed. It's not here. All of those people that were seeking help suddenly have nothing. Turning Point Center lost their building to flooding. Everybody that was receiving services from there, all of a sudden, again, nothing. So they transition, and people can go to Montpelier. People are doing great in Montpelier. They have some great programs, but they already had a full boat of patients. And now they're trying to take on this another huge boat of patients. And how are they going to make all of this work and make it work for everyone? It's not easy. And so we have a whole lot of people all of a sudden with nothing.
Yeah.
Or very little. Or really intimidated by the fact that, okay, all of this is changing yet again. I need a new counselor. I need to go in and have a new assessment done. I need all of this stuff that I've already done. I've already established, and I've been working on this, and all of a sudden, bang. Those are the things that send somebody with any issue, not necessarily just substance use, but any issue. I mean, just having somebody who has anxiety, for God's sakes, to change all of that
Yeah.
is a lot.
It is a lot. And there's a lot of barriers. You know, it's hard even here, like from Barrie to Montpelier, some people don't have transportation.
No.
So that's a barrier. You know, it's the other piece too is like, if they feel like it's so much work, they're not going to do it because it's just too much stress. Which is, you know, unfortunate that we've lost so much in resources. I know that Carolyn has done an amazing job, and she tries to open up to anybody that needs help. Her and her husband will help anybody that need help. They get it, they understand, and they don't judge. You know, and we're trying to get more services and work as a team with more services. We've told people, if you need a place to just sit, come sit here. We're here to listen. We'll talk to you. We're just trying to do what we can at this point, because there's not a lot out there anymore.
And there isn't. And that's the thing, is that, and now is the time that we really need to hear from you too. What do you need? What is it that you weren't getting? What is it that you need right now? What do you want to see for resources? But where can we get this information if there's no place to go?
Yeah.
To get that message out. It's very frightening, and I truly believe that that's how we ended up kind of right where we're at right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I wish that I knew that we were going to get the resources back, but I don't know what's going to be coming back. I've tried doing a lot of research, but it's like going further away, and that's hard for people. I know like Jenna's house does a meeting a couple times a week. I know that Sonnet Stowe has some meetings that they do that they allow the public to come in.
And there are some here in Barrie as well. Yeah.
It's just a patient said to me, like, I don't want to go to this place because these people know me, and if they know I'm on Suboxone, they're going to judge me. And, you know, I totally understand what they mean, but like my answer is, who cares? It's not their business.
Right. They know that you're also actively using. So what's the better of the two evils here?
Yeah.
That someone knows you're getting help, or someone knows that you're still in active addiction. Either way, it's no secret. So find a way to deal with it.
Yep.
And work together, and know that the people that are here where you are support you and love you and want to help you move forward. And it doesn't matter who else you might see. It's the only beauty I ever found in COVID was the fact that people could attend Zoom meetings anywhere in the world. You can go to a meeting in North Carolina if you want to, from your bedroom, and no one there knows who you are. You can go to Hawaii Tuesday night if you want to.
Yes.
And there's a beauty in that, because I think it gives some security to some, but there's also a downside to that, I feel, because the human connection of face-to-face and really getting to see somebody's expressions and understand where they're at is a big part of this.
And honestly, like, these people do feel shame and they're disappointed in themselves. But sometimes continuing to use is what makes them feel better because they're getting that high. So it's not that they don't care or they feel shame just as much, but us shaming this is not helping anything. It's actually making it worse. We need to be supportive. And let me tell you, it sucks to have to be trying to help somebody who wants to do it but doesn't want to do it, but you're really trying. It is hard, but you can't give up. And that is, one of the beauties of this. Like, don't give up. Work together. Let's do this together.
Now, we touched on it a little bit. You spoke of Brady, and I think, touched a little bit that may have been why you decided to switch to this field. And did you do that to understand?
I did it partly to understand, and it was partly like some of my own healing to like go through this. And I also wanted to keep his story going. People always say, oh, it won't happen to me. It won't happen to me. It will. It can happen to you. It does. So for me, being able to give back to the community and being able to help helps me because I feel like I'm doing good. I'm not going to judge you. I may not like what you do, but I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to be supportive.
Do you feel like this happened, losing him put you in this space? Were you there before where you were not, like, you weren't judgy then? Do you think you feel totally different now than you felt then?
Yes. And the reasoning is because I got to actually see a human being that was human and nice and sweet and kind to their peers and was very active in the community. He was a human person that had feeling, and I got to see that side versus the substance side. So for me, it was seeing a person that was normal, even though they had an addiction, but they were a nice person, and it wasn't just the substance use.
Yeah. And that's a tough reality. It really is. It's the reality I fight most with myself in my own personal situation with my son. I know who he is. I know who he can be. I know his potential. I don't think he knows any of that. And but I also know the shit side. That's what I call it. That's what it is. I know the shit side. I know exactly who and what he is when he's in active addiction use. When he's using, a total different person.
Yeah.
And also a tough spot to be in because you continually mourn this person that is very much alive with you.
Yeah. And it's hard to be supportive when you're feeling so uncertain, like, and kind of mixed. But as hard as it is, it's one of the best things that you can continue to do. Arguing or trying to be like, this isn't reality is not going to do any good. It's not going to help face what's going on. But the one thing that I have found in working with people is communication, just being open and communicate, like, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you, however that may be. I'm not here to put a plan in place for you. I'm here to help work with you to put a plan in place. And then, we can meet in a week and see what you're doing or how you're doing, what goals you've met. Have you met any? Do we need to tweak this? That's what we are doing.
Right. It's almost like a prescription that a doctor would write. You know, they gave you something, you take it for a little while, you come back, you figure out whether or not it's working. Does something need to change? Does something need tweaking? And it's a process. You don't cure most things. You don't cure overnight or with the first dose or the first prescription. And it's a dance.
It
And
is.
maneuvering that sometimes can throw the curveball into somebody who's already struggling.
Yeah.
Maneuvering that is just one more thing. It's a chore. And the one thing that I used to say a lot, and I try really hard never to let it leave my mouth anymore, but I'm human and sometimes it slips, and like I said, I get frustrated, for sure, and I'm very honest about that fact, is I just wish you would be as active in your recovery as you are in hunting for shit. You know, you will move mountains to get what you need to be high, but you won't move mountains to save your life. And that's frustrating.
Absolutely.
It's super hard to sit back and even begin to wrap your mind around
Yeah.
and understand, how can somebody do that?
Absolutely. It so is. And, you know, we may never know why. Does it make them feel better? Who knows? A lot of times when people use it does because it makes them feel better. But there's a lot of different reasoning. You know, is there depression that's happening? Do they have a mental illness? Those things all come into play as well. So, and that if they're not willing to put the work in, you're not going to make them change. And that's one thing to, like, a key point. Like, you can't make somebody do something because you want it. You know, people say, why can't you just quit? It's not that easy. It's the same thing with smoking cigarettes. It's just not that easy. I'm addicted to sugar. I can't stop eating sugar. It's just not that easy.
Right.
So it's, before you say that to somebody, like, realize that it's just not that easy. If it was that easy, we wouldn't be in this situation.
So when we talk about harm reduction and different pieces to the puzzle, do you feel that part of harm reduction is not just giving a safe space to use, but a space of education, a space of security, and where we can, I don't even know how to really put it, but when we talk about the harm that people are inflicting on themselves, and the harm that we're trying to make sure that is somehow monitored, that when we're doing that we're providing other education beyond the addiction itself and substance, like let the resources to be a functioning adult in society be a part of the whole puzzle. Because right now I don't always feel like it is. I feel like there's all kinds of little pieces, but there's so many missing pieces. Like, there are so many people who have never filled out a job application. If they have, they didn't do it well because they don't know how. Maybe they don't know how to interview, use a checkbook, do their own laundry, cook, clean, take care of themselves. Just a general thing that way back when you and I learned in home ec, they don't have such a thing in schools
I
anymore.
don't.
But life skills being a part of harm reduction.
Yeah.
When I think of harm reduction, I very much incorporate life skills
Mm-hmm.
because I think that life skills are what keep you safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing, in Johnson that we're really trying to enforce. And now that we're back in our own space, being able to kind of get our resources back on board and where they can come in and meet with me before they meet with Caroline and just say, like, this is what I need. What can I do? How can you help me? Because that's really what I'm there for. And I'm there to make sure that they're on the right track. So we need that. We need that for a lot of different.
Yeah, it needs to be a part of a program because sometimes I feel like not just people in active use, but others as well. But sometimes it's hard to say, this is what I need because they don't know that they need it.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea
Mm-hmm.
that that is a piece that would make things so much easier if the stress of, you know, your housing situation or job or the stress of even being able to keep your space tidy so that you aren't full of angst and being in a mess all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I really feel like some people don't even understand that they need those things. And so I just wonder if they should be things that are a part of
Daily.
helping
Yeah.
that every day that they don't even know that that's what they need, but damn, all of a sudden I'm getting this service because I'm seeking services here or there, and this is part of my program, and
Mm-hmm.
holy crap, what a difference that made. um I just really feel like the life skills thing needs to be a piece of the puzzle that was lost a long time ago. And I
Mm-hmm.
agree with Ethan when he says these are things that a youth could be taught. And you're damn right. And they should be taught. These are things
Yes.
that we don't do anymore. And we don't necessarily let our kids be kids. And they're
Mm-hmm.
involved in way too many adult things. And,
Yeah.
we're the anxieties that we have in the society now are so much greater than when
It
I
is.
was a kid. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling my kids, because I'm very open with my kids about, this is what I do. But I was telling my kids, like, when their dad and I were in high school, the thing that we were worried most about was if the guys were going to get a swirly that day or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't any of this. And it's so different now.
mhm.
And people are different. People are mean. It's just mind blowing.
Right, because we're allowed to be. And that is the I guess super tough part is that, we come from a very different time. And I always say, yes, I want to move forward in some things, but I would love to take 20 years step back in so many others.
Yeah.
I really would. Um, Maybe even further. When you definitely respected your elders. And,
Mm.
um, you know, not too long ago, I was somewhere and a young boy and I knew it was his grandmother because she referred to herself as Grammy to the other child with them. But he was probably 8 or 9 and he called her dude. And I thought, wow. To me, that was the most disrespectful thing ever. I just
Yeah.
like couldn't believe that this kid said to his grandmother, dude.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
No. My grandmother probably would have knocked my block off. But that's what I mean. We just come from such a different world, and so many things have changed. And I think that that is a big piece of the puzzle that we have lost, and created so much anxieties in life. I mean, look at all the shit we talk about all the time. We're not afraid to talk about politics, who we vote for. I didn't know who my mom and dad voted for. I didn't know that they were Democrat or Republican. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to be outside playing hide and seek until the street lights came on.
Yeah.
And where was I? And what time was the ice cream truck gonna come? And did I mow the lawn enough times to make enough money to buy whatever the sherbet thing on a stick was? I mean, really, that's what until I was quite a bit older. We just enjoyed our lives, and we weren't worried about bullying and all of this stuff that the kids are so consumed with. But kids are consumed with the shit that they're getting from their parents.
It is. I am in the process of doing a project for school on adolescence and substance use. And it, unfortunately, and I hate saying it, but like it does come from poor parenting. And I hate using that because I don't want to put anybody down, but it's what they're seeing at home, whether parents are using or not. Something else, if there's a
Or
mental,
they're just being assholes.
yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate, and it's starting so early. And you're right, there's not any talk anymore in the schools, and my goal someday is to get into school and start kind of letting you know this is what's happening. Like, you know, unfortunately, like having Narcan training is what people need to know, because it's people are using whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
And you know, for me, I want to be able to help people.
And kids are trying and experiencing things just like you or I may have. But we all know that marijuana can be laced just as easy as something else.
Absolutely.
And so, gonna smoke a joint and, behind the school or behind the, den on the soccer field, whatever. It's not the same anymore.
It's not.
You
Definitely
just
not.
never know. It's not the same. And so educating in these things and just, because our youth, I looked at the numbers again yesterday and it's absolutely staggering and disgusting. But our youth are literally addicted, overdosing, dying on a daily basis. Kids 16 and under, young kids 11, 12, 13 years old. Holy shit, how did we get there? Where a young kid was even, I don't know what I was doing at 11, but I know that I wasn't thinking about smoking a crack pipe.
Yeah.
I just know that I wasn't. But I also know that things were a lot different. We dealt with things more forward. People didn't get offended by everything else. When I was in school, drinking and driving and DARE was a big deal. We had a police officer, Officer Whipple, that came and he did the DARE program and we all learned about it. And they parked this wrecked car that one of our friends had gotten killed in out on the front lawn of the school. And man, we walked by that every damn day to get in the building. And it was a reminder, this is what hit us and this is what, and you can't do that now. Oh, that would be considered just terrible.
I haven't seen those programs in the school for
Many years.
many years. And I'm not sure why it stopped. But
We don't even do the Smokey the Bear thing anymore. I mean, you can't do anything without, and these are the things that we need to be doing, that we need to be focused
Yes.
on.
Absolutely. I've stressed to my kids a lot that, and I use this as, a guide for myself is I don't know what it took somebody to get out of bed in the morning. I don't know what they're going through whether, they're using, they're abused, they have a mental illness. I don't know. So giving them a little bit of a nice out of me could make their day.
Right, and thank God your kids have that. Thank God they have that understanding that that's how they should be. It does us being kind to each other does only takes just such little bit.
Such a little bit. And I know my oldest daughter struggled a little bit this year because she has all her friends, but she doesn't go out of her way because they're mean to people. And she said, Mom, I'm not going to be that person. Mm-hmm. And as hard as it is for me to, feel her pain of not being interactive,
You have to
I'm
be
more
proud
proud.
at the same time.
I am. I'm more proud. And I think starting young, having open conversations about substances is going to be really huge. Mm-hmm. And I've started with my kids because you just don't know. I've told them not to pick up anything off the ground because you don't know.
No matter what it is.
Because it could have fentanyl on
sticker.
It and it could kill you.
Yeah, not even a sticker.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch it.
Yep. So, I've stressed that to them. It's just important to start young at this point because it is happening younger and younger, and we don't need to lose these young people.
No, we need to educate them. We need to do it now, and which means that we're going to have to start being honest and tough and stop, dancing around the subject and for fear of hurting someone's feelings. I much rather hurt someone's feelings than be going to their funeral.
Yeah, same.
To continue to see the numbers rise of our kids dying on a daily basis of this shit.
Yeah.
I would just rather say, this is how it is. I'd rather do just like they did when I was a kid and be brutally honest about it. Show them pictures of somebody that has been affected by xylazine and the wounds. Show them someone who is sick and tired and scared and skinny and not eating and just be honest. I'd rather be honest.
Absolutely. My friend, he was 31 years old. And I'm like, the work that they were doing had just signed a contract with Amazon, like doing amazing things in a wood shop. Gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just to one time.
It's sad. It's super sad. So when I think of harm reduction, that's why I go to that, because I really feel like we need to be doing it before. Mm-hmm. We need to be doing it this needs to be happening with our kids. We need to be teaching them all of this stuff right now.
Yes.
Because it's here.
And I think that you'll see going forward, there will be some more vending machines that do come. Ours is kind of like the first trial, see how things go. But the idea is to get more out in the communities, which I think is great because it's destigmatizing. We don't know who you are. We just know that it got, something got dispensed. Mm-hmm. But it keeps it so you can come do it in your own time, day or night, and, get the Narcan. And there's no judging.
And also, right, and it also means that a family member, a spouse, a brother, sister, anybody, somebody that absolutely loves you, or just a caring community member, can have it, mm-hmm. and have a peace of mind in a sense of I can help somebody if I need to, because there is no worse feeling than being in a situation where something horrible is happening and you have to watch it happen because there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
That goes for anything. There are a million situations in the world where, you're helpless. Mm-hmm. And in this situation, you don't have to be helpless. And
Yeah.
so take the opportunity to get some, to learn more about it, to learn how to use it, to I used mine not long ago. I think it's probably been a couple months ago at Domino's. I went there to pick up a pizza. And when I came out, there was a young woman overdosing on the little sidewalk right there. Thankfully, I had doses in my purse and doses in my car. And I was able to help her until help could get to us. But I can't imagine the feeling of not being able to do anything, especially because I knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
But before we have to go, I want to touch on that too and just say that you don't have to know exactly what is happening. Giving somebody Narcan is not going to harm them in any way
Nope.
if they're struggling with something else.
No, it's not. And, I think one important thing to remember is that it could be one of your relatives. And to keep that in mind, like these are human beings that are struggling. It's not their choice, it's a disease. And, I respect people, I respect their opinions. But in return, we need the respect back. It's not, you don't have to like, I don't have to like everything somebody else does, vice versa. But I really think we could nail this down if we can work together and get more resources out there. And we're working on it. And that's something I'm looking forward to.
Tina wants to know how Narcan is administered. You want me to get one?
Sure.
There you go.
Yep. So it actually comes in a dose of a 2-pack, and there's actually instructions on the box. But you basically open it up. It's a plunger.
You can do it if you want. Yep.
It's a plunger. And they say if you can get people to get them on the ground, I mean, you're going to have to use whatever you can get at the time. But one thing I'm going to tell you, do not stand in the way. They recommend you either roll them over onto the right side, or I stand behind them sometimes because some people come up flailing and you don't want to get knocked out. But it's just like a plunger, and you basically are just going to, you put fingers and you're just going to push, and it's one dose.
Up the nose,
and it's one dose. If there's no response after 3 minutes, you do a second dose. Hopefully by then you're going to have help, because most people don't carry more than 2 on them.
See, I'll put it in the camera too and show more. So this is what the actual device looks like, and you would just put your fingers on both sides, put it in the nostril, and press. Yeah.
And you just do
Super
with whatever
easy.
you can do. If you can't get them down, whatever, just give it to them.
But definitely don't get close, because a lot of times someone coming to is startled. And as soon as they come to, a lot of times the first instinct and reaction is to run. Because they're, feeling a lot of shame of what just happened, and they don't necessarily want to go get help at the moment. So get out of the way. Yeah, definitely stay out of the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just one key that I've learned. So.
Yeah. That, or they come back to, Ethan says, they come back to in shock. that or they cry. And yes, I've actually been in a situation where that is exactly what happened. Um, it was just instant emotion of crying and being sorry, and you know, which is also sad. You know,
Yeah.
the whole thing. It's just super tough to experience it on any level. But yeah, have you done this yet? Have you had to? Yeah,
Yep. Unfortunately, yes.
yeah,
Not something I like to do. Obviously, I would do it, but it's hard sometimes. I have so much compassion for people, but it's heartbreaking.
yeah. And you never know what to do, and then you try so hard. You're super passionate about this. This is what you've decided you're going to make a big part of your life. You're back to school to get your master's. So some days it's got to get a little depressing for you too.
Yes.
It's hard to see.
It's hard, and it's hard too, like, if people don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. Like, I've had people say, why do you want to do that? Why not? Because they're human too and need care just as much as you and I. So I do it because I think it was meant for me to do it. I have a heart for it. I just think it's important for everybody to get the same care, whether you're using substances or not using substances.
It is definitely. And I think it's also important that people understand, know, and realize that no one is alone. Not the person suffering in active use, nor the people that love them. That we need to be more supportive of each other.
Absolutely.
And we need to understand that it's okay for the loved ones to also take care of themselves. It's okay for it is okay for the community members to say, all right, we're tired of this shit and we're going to do something, but let's just have a conversation about what it is that we're going to do and how we're going to do it.
Yeah. I often tell my patients, this is one thing I say a lot, is it's okay to not be okay. It is. It's okay. It's okay to cry.
Yeah.
It's okay to scream. Like, it's okay. And a lot of times people are like, oh, finally, I can, you know, I can just let it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Because it is. It's a hard situation all the way around.
absolutely.
Whether there's a lot of emotions packed in here for sure, and but no one is alone.
No one's
It's
alone.
not a secret. That's why. Why we call it this, because it's not a secret. We all know it exists. Many of us know. I mean, I know. I always tell my son, just freaking tell me straight up. If you're leaving the house, don't give me some bullshit story that says, oh, I'm doing this, or this. Don't call me and say, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 30 minutes and I don't see you for 3 days. Just say, Mom, I'm on a bender. Because you know what? At least then I'll know, okay, this is what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not constantly, I mean, I'm still going to worry, but it's not going to be, just be friggin' honest with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a secret. I know anyway. So
Yeah.
just tell me.
Communication. It's key.
It is key.
Listening, validating, and not judging.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
I wish you well in getting your master's. A lot of tough work. Thank you a ton for all you do and for the work that you do and the continued mission that you're on to learn as much as you can possibly learn
Yes.
so that you can teach it.
Yep.
And that's super important. And thanks for Tina for hooking us up.
Yes.
So, okay. So, with that, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone for today. And thanks for tuning in. Please share with your friends and people that you know. Invite people to like the page and to comment and share their stories here. And if you are somebody who is struggling, if you are somebody who loves somebody who is in active use and you'd like to talk, you don't necessarily have to do a podcast. We don't have to do this publicly. I'm always here and do anything I can to help anybody. So for now, I love you all and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.